Hey guys, this is an update on my office reef tank, 300 gallon. Made some changes since the last video. This is going to be good, bad, and ugly update. So try to go as quickly as possible so I don't drag this on. But mainly for the tank, I did get a par meter and realized my par in the tank was only in the 40s. So I bumped that up to around 100 for now, mainly using one of the two lights as the main source of light, where I'm starting to put corals and I have a clam as well. So I'll zoom in a little bit, but to the left of the tank, you can see on the sand bed there is some hair algae. It's still part of the tank. What I've done, besides taking rock out, cleaning it, you can see the rock that I did take out and clean it. It has a little hair algae starting to come up on some of the parts. You can see where it's pretty much bleached. That used to be coralline algae. That's all gone once you hit it with 35% peroxide. So two things. I was feeding the tank a cube and a half a day. And I had started alternating now, cube and a half every other day, and feeding the tangs, because I have four tangs in here, 5 tangs in here, 3 yellows, 1 naso, and 1 Nemo up here. Been feeding them equivalent of like a 6-inch by 6-inch sheet of nori every other day. And I'm gonna, since that changed to feeding the frozen every other day, happened like roughly a week ago. Really can't tell what effect it's going to have, if anything, on the nutrients. Phosphates are at 0.04, so either it's eating it up or that's why it's not registering any high phosphates. But on the behind the scenes, this is my refugium. So just cleaned it. The Cato ended up floating up to the top and is getting burned by my Kessel 380. So just try to get it down. I took roughly 25% of it out. If you see this bright orange thing, this is a sponge that I found at Manhattan Aquariums. So that guy there is a beautiful orange, and I'm hoping that starts to spread throughout the tank. Sponge is always beneficial. There are some sponges that are growing naturally. It's a little hard to see on the glass there, but in the areas where it's never exposed to air, that's where you can see some sponges starting in the sump. Nothing in the main display to speak of, but yeah, so these are some of the frags that I've gotten from Tidal Gardens. They're all doing very, very well. Lights are starting to cycle down now, but yeah, so I have been religiously using a quarantine tank that's over here, and this 22-gallon guy has definitely saved me on several occasions for definitely some pests that have been avoided. I did find some Monty eating nudibranch in here. There was a couple of frags that I did get from a LFS, and didn't know what they looked like until they must have reproduced and bloomed a little more during the month that I had the frags in here, and it took out three of the Montes that were in here. They were all plating Montes, and they're gone. I dipped them and it's almost hundreds came off. So I was wondering what was eating away at the can't really tell what they are, because a lot of times they go underneath the Monty, so you can't see it until you actually pick it up. So yeah, so that's the whole purpose of this, making sure that I try to weed out any potential pest outbreaks in my main display. But we have a couple of Monty that are here, digitata to the right. Got some frags from Pet Warehouse, believe it or not. They have some beautiful SPS there. This guy right here is from Pet Warehouse. This guy here is from Manhattan Aquariums. It's a purple stylo. And this is another really Monty as well. That's really starting to show more white tips, so it's starting to grow. This guy back here is a nice stag that I got from Pet Warehouse as well. This is tabling. This is another acro I got from Manhattan Aquariums. A beautiful selection of SPS there. There's a little guy that, another stag that's down there, was definitely a deeper green, but I'm assuming that since it's in such a small system and I am manually dosing it, that they aren't going to show their full brilliance until they get to the main display. There's another stag as well. I'm going to cut this guy into two. You can see it's already starting to show extension and growth on both ends. So this is going to be, it's really a dark green as well. And this guy here turned brown, still alive. This is a coral from Manhattan Aquariums as well that hoping will start to show some color. I think I have another week of it keeping in the quarantine. I'll take it out, make sure there's no pests on it, and then definitely put it in the main 300. Yeah, so this has been helping me a lot as far as being able to watch the parameters and keep an eye on the new additions. This is a beautiful, it has purple tips when you see it under the full light. The lights are going down now, but it's a beautiful really colony I got from the Reef shop in the Bronx. Here's a couple of frags, new additions as well. Yeah, so things are working well. This little Two Little Fishes protein skimmer is working beautifully. I have my RO DI system all set up, Toomsy with an aqua lifter there, and it's taking the water from my fish room. But yeah, so that's pretty much the update. I did move some corals into the tank today. I moved a total of 4. So you can see down here, the one towards the back left, that's really a yellow color when the lights are on. So this one here is a dark green, and we have 3 frags that I have on this little frag rack here for now. And there's the guys from Tidal Gardens. Yeah, they definitely are starting to color up since I have them in the main display. The Montes are growing. That digitata there is starting to encrust onto the frag rack. So good signs. As long as I continue to keep this, one more coral from Manhattan's Aquarium as well. This is just to give a little flow, visual movement inside the tank. Yep, so that's pretty much it for the main display. And calcium reactor, I want to go show you guys that. Oh, this is my little cart that I use to do my maintenance. I took all my test kits out of their containers, and anytime I sit down and test, I pull this whole tray out on the table there and do my thing. It's a lot more convenient. Anything I need to dose, and yeah, just wheel that thing out instead of making like this is where my tank is and this is where my fish room is, and going back and forth up and down these steps. It feels like 300 times every time I maintain the tank. Unnecessary exercise. So yeah, so this is the Geo's Reef calcium reactor 1818. It's been a little struggle getting it to really be balanced and tweaked. So originally what I had, I gotta get up on a ladder to get up here, since it's in another room, just dialing it with the system that I have in here, which is basically coming through. This is like a 12-foot high ceiling, so I have suction that's achieved from that pump down there on the floor in through this 1-inch line into the pump, and then it either goes to the chiller up here and then back to the tank, or anytime I'm doing water changes, I can reverse the flow and have fresh water, or salt water, fresh salt water should I say, come from any one of these 4 group containers. This is our RDI system there. But back to the calcium reactor. It seems that there is, for some reason, a little difficult dialing it in. Originally had just put a valve there to mimic a um, hello, to mimic a, I'm losing the word there for a second, but anyway, they come to me, but manifold, to mimic a manifold. So I did do some maintenance on this pump. There was a couple of pieces of debris in the impellers, so what ended up happening is it really created a tremendous amount more pressure into the calcium reactor, and it started leaking. Luckily I was still here because it started leaking, and that would have been a big mess if that lasted through the night. So what I ended up doing is having another aqua lifter here, take just basically from 1/4 inch line from the sump into the aqua lifter. It's been pumping it into the calcium reactor and back out due to pressure. So it's been working pretty good, but there is still the CO2 that doesn't escape the setup because it's around 30-foot run to get back to where the tank is. It's been a little hard to dial it in, not to have too much flow in the effluent line, but really it's around, right now it's 50 milliliters per minute is what the flow is. So that's pretty much without any restriction. So I think I'm going to have to live with these bubbles for a while, but I don't think that's affecting anything. Right now, I had the doser at 6 bubbles per second, 15 pounds. Ends up being that the pH in the effluent was only around 7.3, 7.4. So I turned it, increased the bubbles per second to 5. And they're really not small bubbles. I guess part of the system and design and the amount of pressure and distances. They're pretty big bubbles that I see in the bubble counter. So, you know, a couple of seconds go by, like 15 seconds goes by, and then you see one big bubble come out. But I've been keeping an eye on that pH. The pH in the tank is still 8.3, 8.4, so that's no issue. So it's probably going to be another week of dialing it in to get to the pH down to around 6, anywhere around 6.8, anywhere between 6.5 and 6.8. So yeah, so that's pretty much the update for this time. And yeah, I did get some corals that UPS destroyed by putting them in the freezer overnight. The shipment was delayed, and they ended up putting them in the freezer. And the water was 60 degrees by the time they got here, and 1 full day late. And of course that didn't work out too well, but Aqua SD said they're going to replace them, no issues. So that's beautiful when you have a good vendor that you're dealing with that stands by their service. So yep, other than that, this is the latest long-winded update for my 300 gallon, and I hope you guys are enjoying your reef tanks. All right, see you on the next one.